Hello and welcome to this Innovation Enterprise webinar in association with VoltDB and Emagine. Today I'm delighted to introduce you to Peter Vescuso, who is CMO at VoltDB, and David Peters, who is CEO at Emagine. Today they'll be presenting the Real-Time Personalization with Fast Data webinar. There'll be time for a Q&A session at the end, so please post any questions that you have in the Q&A box located at the right-hand side of your screen. This webinar is being recorded and the recording will be available within 3 working days. Over to you, Peter.
Thank you, Deanna, and welcome to everybody attending today's webinar. We're going to be talking about a very exciting topic, real-time personalization with fast data. We're doing that today with David Peters, who's the CEO of Emagine International. I'm going to do a brief introduction, set some context, and then hand it over to David for really the meat and the most exciting part of the presentation. There is a Q&A window, so if you have questions as we go along, feel free to type them in, and we'd actually encourage questions, and we'll get to them as we finish the presentation. So to kick it off and start off talking about data. It's a data-intensive world, as I think everybody recognizes today. Your business tends to be only as good and as fast as your ability to process and take out value based on that data. And some people have even talked about it being such a significant trend that it represents the datafication of life. People talk about the Internet of Things and connected devices, and there are estimates from consultancies like Gartner Group that talk about 20 billion devices by 2020. There are even some more aggressive estimates, this one, that it will eventually become a 10 trillion device world by a professor at UC Berkeley, because he sees sensors being deployed and connected to everything that's out there. That connection, the datafication of life, really presents significant opportunity for businesses today. And the ability to take advantage of that data and process it fast is core to a lot of businesses' competitive advantage. David's going to talk a lot about that with respect to customer value and personalization, and the ability to provide real-time interaction, providing significant business advantage. And it's a lesson that more and more businesses are seeing. At VoltDB, we tend to talk about that really representing the future. In the future, all businesses will compete on their ability to make decisions in the moment using fast data. When we first started saying that, we thought it was kind of a far-out prediction. Now it feels like this is going to be commonplace in a very short period of time. So I mentioned fast data a few times. Let me just spend a short moment here talking about what fast data is and differentiate it from big data. I think many people talk about big data, are familiar with big data, represented here by literally a picture of a lake. The data lake with Hadoop being the infrastructure to support that data. But that data is data that's really been saved and is data at rest. Fast data, the data that we're talking about here, is live operational data that can be tapped and used in real time to extract business value. Forrester Research talks about it. Actually, Mike Gualtieri at Forrester Research, one of their principal analysts, talks about the business value in fast data as perishable insights that can have exponentially more value than after-the-fact traditional historical analytics. You're going to hear a very compelling example of that from David and Emagine International. So fast data, we think the ability to tap into it and use it is growing dramatically, but it's relatively new. It's got the potential to transform your business. VoltDB's an enabling technology. We've created the only purpose-built architecture for fast data, and our role is to power mission-critical applications like Emagine with new levels of features, functionality, and performance in a number of different kind of use cases and examples. First one, and most popular one, being interactive, personalized customer engagement, and David's going to talk about that. But the same technology and approach can be used for lots of other applications, especially things like precision resource counting and billing when that needs to be done in real time policy enforcement, in operations and manufacturing, IoT sensor data processing, and more. So it's an exciting time. The world is transforming, moving to fast data, and new technologies are enabling that. VoltDB is excited to be part of it. The really new piece that VoltDB brings to the party is a combination of a very fast data processing platform that can do real-time streaming analytics combined with enabling intelligent decision-making, automated decision-making to take action based on it. The ability to basically take action as fast as you can learn and gain value from it. How is VoltDB able to do it? I'm not going to go into any details. I just thought I'd give a quick overview that VoltDB was designed from the ground up to enable fast data applications. It's got really unique technology. It's got the combination of a fast data pipeline capability with in-memory OLTP transactionality and a scale-out architecture with very familiar programming interfaces like SQL and Java. And we like to talk about our database super friends who designed VoltDB. Mike Stonebreaker is one of the VoltDB founders, and most recently this year was the winner of the ACM Turing Award, which is the Nobel Prize in the computer science world. But he did the foundational research with a collection of other super friends here that you see listed, kind of the who's who of the database world from key academic institutions in the US. So that technology was designed to be able to tap this opportunity. I hope I gave you some sense of the potential there, but I know David Peters is going to deliver on it in detail and with some very compelling data. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to David Peters.
Thanks, Peter, and thanks everyone for joining the call today. Appreciate your time. What I'm going to talk through is really three things. Firstly is this area of customer value management, which is all about maximizing the value of individual customers, and give a quick overview of what that means in the telecom space, and then talk about our product architecture and why we selected VoltDB for the real-time analytics and execution engine that we've built, and then give you a case study from one of our clients to show really fast data in action, real-time personalization in action, and the business value and the impact of getting to real-time. And I'll give you some numbers and some technical and business impacts at the end. Okay, so first thing is an overview of what is CVM, or customer value management. So in the telecom space and in any large organization, that is all about generating superior returns from your customer base by understanding each customer and then engaging with each customer at the right time with the right offer. That's been the holy grail of marketing since the 80s, when Peppers and Rogers wrote their book One-to-One Marketing. And I think today, having been in this industry myself for almost 20 years, this is a reality, and the technology has caught up to the point where one-to-one marketing in real time is now possible and a reality. So customers are after an organization that not only understands what their transactions are, but also understands the value of that customer to them. Customers, in terms of what they're after, want you as an organization to know them, know their community affiliation, so you can provide tailored offers and interact with them via the right channels. They want to be remembered and recognized for their loyalty, and they want to be able to have their behavior predicted so that you can meet their needs, and in the end that's a win-win. The customer gets good interaction and good engagement from the supplier with the right products and services, and the supplier sees their revenues grow and their churn rates decrease. Why this matters is that over time, and this slide is not rendering the way it should, but customer value management is a multi-year partnership And when we engage with our partners our clients in the telecom space, our benchmark is to grow over several years to between 3 and 5% incremental revenue driven from targeted campaigns and offers to customers. So for this typical operator with 20 million customers and $5 average revenue per user per month, a 1% growth in the first year is worth $12 million. In the second year, if they hit 3, it's worth 36, and in the third year, they'll be making $60 million if they're at 5% incremental revenue. So over a 3-year period for this sort of typical telco operator, getting this right can be worth between, as I said, 3 to 5% incremental revenue, and that could be in the order of $100 million worth of incremental revenue generated by executing CVM correctly. So there's a big financial benefit around this particular area of fast data and big data. And in a typical telecoms operator and in any large organization, there's a customer life cycle, and there's many moments of truth across that customer life cycle, from the acquisition and onboarding through to upsell, cross-sell, and decay mitigation, and then into predicting whether customers are going to churn and trying to give them some sort of rewards and recognition program, to finally, if they do leave, trying to win those customers back, and the cycle goes again. So most operators will have a good view as to what the customer life cycle is, and depending on the segment of customers, will have defined many moments of truth across. These will become intelligently down to the individual level of customers, and we talk about marketing to one, so marketing to an individual customer, and that's the objective here. Why does real time matter? And from the point, in terms of a journey time, from the point when the customer does something to the point when we interact with them, really matters, because we want to interact with the customer in the moment when it really counts. So we'll go through an example of what that means and show you a short video of one use case, and then we'll talk about that particular use case. So we'll just play this video for you.
This is Sophie. She's currently streaming, tweeting, liking, posting, and swiping left. She's digging deep into her data bundle, but it's okay. We've got things covered if she drops too low. Sophie sees someone has posted a hilarious video to Facebook. Oh, I love those goats. Wait, she only has 50 megabytes of data left. 40 meg, 30, quick, send her a message. 20, hurry it up, 10 megabytes. Whoops. Well, that's how it used to be done anyway. With Imagine's real-time event decisioning platform, we can avoid losing Sophie as a customer. Machine learning combined with real-time technology makes it possible to predict exactly how long Sophie has left of her data bundle. We know the exact right time to contact Sophie, and when we reach it, our real-time platform swings into action. It analyzes Sophie's behavioral DNA to build a personalized offer that will grab her attention, and then delivers it down the right channel. And the time it takes to do this? 250 milliseconds. Faster, smarter, more adaptive. Imagine.
The video shows a use case of a phone user who runs out of their data bundle, And at the moment they run out of their data bundle, the operator wants to make them an offer to buy an additional data bundle so that they don't incur high out-of-bundle rates, and which was driving dissatisfaction in the operator and in the client. So at the instant when the customer is about to run out of their data bundle, we look to make a personalised offer to the customer, which is individual for that customer, and get them to respond and actually buy the data bundle in that moment. So we'll come back to that use case later, which is one use case that we've run with operators, and I'll show you some of the examples of the results around that. Just before we do that, we'll talk about our product and how we've designed the product. So the vision for the product at Emagine was to build a platform that delivers the best interaction, which is aligned to each individual customer in real time, to drive customer engagement and maximize the business results. The best interaction, each of these words are important. We wanted the best interaction, best meaning that it was driven off streaming analytics and intelligence based on machine learning. The interaction is multi-channel, so we're interacting with the customer via whatever channel the customer is interacting with. It's aligned to the customer, meaning two things: one, that it's the right offer for that customer, and two, that it's aligned to the business objectives of the organisation. We get down to the individual level of the customer, so we understand each individual customer individually, and we're doing this in real time. By real time, whenever anyone's talking about real time, you have to ask them what their definition of real time is. Our definition of real time is to take an event from the network in the telecom space and within 250 milliseconds have an offer or a communication or an interaction in the hands of the customer. So we're talking sub-second decisioning and interaction with customers. And then we're looking to drive customer engagement and maximize the business results, which are to drive incremental revenue for the operator and to increase the revenues and decrease the churn and increase the activity of the customer. We designed the product around one of the key principles was that it had to be fast, less than 250 milliseconds from event to action. Some of the other principles you would find on any product: easy, intuitive to understand. We wanted it to be automated end-to-end with streaming analytics and be able to demonstrate the results effectively. And we've built an inbound and outbound unified platform so that we can push out contacts to customers, but also if customers are approaching the telco or the organisation via web channels or via SMS inbound or calling into the call centre, all of those channels can present the right offer to the customer as well. In terms of the architecture for our product, we've selected the Lambda architecture as the reference architecture, and that essentially has three components. There's a batch layer, which is your, if you like, traditional big data lake, where the data is at rest. There's a speed layer. For that speed layer, we exclusively use VoltDB. We selected those guys when we started this journey towards this architecture several years ago. That is for data that's in motion and real-time data. And then there's a serving layer which combines those two views of the batch and the incremental data so that you can make intelligent decisions in real time and execute, whether that's executing an offer to a customer via a channel like SMS or email, or whether that's reporting on results in real time and doing alerting and monitoring or dashboarding. So lots written around the Lambda architecture. If it's worth reviewing some of those references there if you haven't come across it before. We chose VoltDB. We looked around the world. We believe it's the world's fastest and smartest in-memory database. It met our requirements for sub 250 milliseconds response time. In fact, when we started talking to VoltDB, they talked about millisecond responses, and in terms of the transactions per second, it's highly scalable. and has delivered performance exactly as we had hoped, in fact better than we had planned with our customers. So very happy with our selection of VoltDB as the underlying architecture for the real-time layer. So a quick overview of our product. On the left, you've got the data sources from the telecoms operator or from any large organization. Bottom left is your traditional batch data coming out of the data warehouse, your billing system, or out of your CRM systems. On the top left are your real-time streams, either coming from probes in the network or direct integration of the IN or through any sort of data streaming layer into the platform. On the right-hand side, we have the channels and to the customer. So those are split into comms channels and rewards and bonus channels. The comms channels are omni-channel, and that means effectively we can interact with customers via any one of these plugins, whether it's IVR, outbound dialer, SMS, USSD, MMS, through the call center, online, email, on app, or direct mail. And the rewards and the bonuses for customers can be into the telecoms network through whether that's credit or mobile money, through gateways like Fusion or others, and into any third parties. So we're often giving away third party rewards like movie tickets or pizza vouchers or some other third party rewards. So it's end-to-end integrated and automated. And in the middle, you've got the main modules, the key modules of Emagine. On the bottom, the contextual analytics platform is the big data lake. On the top, the analytics and reporting is all about building models and the out-of-the-box reporting. And then in the middle, you've got the 4 operational modules of Emagine, which are campaign management, customer loyalty, our real-time event decisioning, and NBA platforms. Not going to go into all of those today, but we'll look at the real-time event decisioning as the key streaming analytics platform, which we implemented with one of our clients, and I'll give you some examples of case studies from that one. So we did a proof of concept with one operator with 20 million customers. And the key question which everybody wanted to answer, and we believe this is the first time in the world that this has been done with an operator, was every operator is already running campaigns. Everyone has something in this space and is doing something. Nobody's got everything. And there's some gaps. And one of the gaps most operators have is, can we get to real-time? And will real-time interaction with customers and real-time campaigns based on streaming analytics give us a bigger business benefit than batch or near real-time campaigns? So in other words, will moving to sub-second interaction actually give us a business benefit beyond, say, a 5 or 10 minute delay on that interaction with customers? So that was the key question we looked to answer with this operator. We looked at 2 use cases, and they're the 2 that I'll talk about today. The first use case was the one in the video, where we want to intercept customers as they go out of bundle to make them a contextual offer in real time of a customized data bundle, which avoids high out of bundle rates, which was driving dissatisfaction and churn. That was the first one. So let's look at their data usage as it decreases just before they go out of bundle. Let's give them a contextual, individualized offer, which is for that individual customer, and look at the impact on revenue. Second use case was for customers who are valuable in the sense that they're a good credit risk. They're about to run out of credit on their prepaid mobile account. Let's offer them a contextual airtime advance or an IOU credit where customers can continue using the network for free, and the next time they top up, they're charged a small service fee when they top up. So this is a service which we operate end-to-end for some of our clients, and here what we're doing is promoting that service by identifying those customers in the moment, and as they're about to go out of credit, giving them a contextual offer for that individual customer as to whether or not they could take an airtime advance. So what does the real-time event decisioning platform from Emagine do? It really does four things. We are ingesting the data on the left in real time and making sense of it from various network elements. The first decision then we make is there a relevant event? In other words, is there a moment of truth that we need to talk to the customer? So we do that through filtering, accumulation, detecting certain events through pattern recognition and through a rules engine. So there's a combination of analytics and business rules plus filters and accumulators in that part of the product, which allows you as a marketing person to configure when a moment of truth has occurred for any particular use case. So in this case, we were looking for, is the customer going to go out of a data bundle? And the second one, are they about to run out of credit? That's the first decision. Is there a moment of truth? The second decision is, what is the most appropriate offer or interaction with that customer? So that again is based on either models or business rules around what is the eligible offer for that customer and what is the offer priority based on whatever models or decisioning exists. And we're running that decisioning in a streaming mode in real time on the data in motion. And then we have to execute and select the most appropriate channel and actually send the offer via that channel to the customer. Our objective is to do that end-to-end process in under 250 milliseconds. Okay, so ingest the data. Is there a relevant event or a moment of truth? What's the most appropriate offer? And then make that offer and fulfill that offer via the most appropriate channel. In terms of what we achieved with this particular operator, there were 20 million customers. We were ingesting 1.5 billion call and event detail records per day. And from the moment those records hit the Emagine real-time event decisioning platform, there was 7 milliseconds to ingest the data, determine if there was an event, allocate an offer, and select the channel. And then there was 440 milliseconds to queue that to the SMSC, in this case to send an SMS to the customer's handset. So the entire journey here took 447 milliseconds. We ran this on a single node commodity hardware box, so it wasn't our normal sort of minimum 3-node architecture, which would have easily smashed our 250 millisecond target. But here, in 447 milliseconds for this POC, we achieved well under a second in terms of the end-to-end journey time. And so technically, in terms of the ingestion of those data records and the time it took to actually make those decisions and interact with the customer, we're very happy with the technical results. The operator was blown away. Now, there was some important technical and issues here, one of which was that the data was not always available in real time. In fact, we had from the operator's network, some operators are able to give data in real time and others have some sort of delay, whether that's a technical limitation or a commercial limitation in terms of what they have to pull the data out of the network. In this case, there was between a 5 and 15-minute delay. On average, it was around 12 minutes delay. And what we were able to do inside our real-time event decisioning platform was to look at the usage profile of the customer in real time and use streaming analytics to predict the usage of the customer and how they were going to use in future based on what they were looking at, what they were actually doing with the phone, and we were able to predict exactly the right time to contact the customer within 85% of the time. That means if somebody's, even with a 12-minute delay here on the data hitting our platform, we were able to still give the customer a real-time experience 85% of the time. The other 15%, we were slightly too early or slightly too late, but 85% of the time, even with the delayed data, we're able to give the customer a real-time experience. In terms of the business results, very interesting. So on the two use cases, on the data bundle re-sign, the desired benefit was to avoid out-of-bundle fees, and that definitely happened. Customers bought the bundle. In fact, through timely intervention sub-second to make the offer to the customer about the bundle, which was a unique offer for each individual customer, we reduced the out-of-bundle usage by 5.2 times higher than the equivalent batch campaign, which was running every 15 minutes. So we measured the results here, not only target versus control, but we also measured the results real-time versus near real-time. And these results are the incremental results versus a near real-time campaign. So this really answers that question: is interact with the customers within 5 or 10 minutes good enough, or does real-time sub-second interaction actually generate an incremental benefit? The clear summary is that yes, real-time interaction absolutely generates an incremental benefit, which is significant. So just to dig into that, on the left, the data bundle re-sign, yeah, 5.2 times less out-of-bundle usage, and our data bundle sales increased by 50% for real-time versus the near real-time campaign. So 1.5 times the sales, very good. On the airtime advance, where we were offering customers a specific airtime advance, the offer adoption rates were 157% higher in real-time versus near real-time. The contextual offers that were made in real-time, they were bought. So in other words, revenue was up 253% with that use case than in the near real-time version. So 2.5 times higher conversion rates and revenue. And with that particular use case alone, that would have generated, would generate an additional $30,000 a month for that one use case, just by putting that live. So very easy to see how that incremental revenue with multiple use cases can scale across the customer base. So in summary, what we found is that actually interacting in real time does deliver an amazing business benefit to the marketing rather than near real time. Our results show that it's between 1.5 and 2.5 times greater than when you move to real time. It's 1.5 to 2.5 times greater than near real time. And to put that in dollar terms, for a typical company which is turning over about $1 billion US, such as a telco, switching to real time would incrementally generate an additional $45 million worth of CVM results, which is significant for any operator. I just want to finish by talking about what this means in operators who already have a CVM environment. You know, the market for campaign management is quite mature. Emagine's been in the market ourselves for 17 years, and we've got competitors like these other guys, SAS, Unica, Oracle, Teradata. There's probably less than 10 in the market who are doing what we do, but there's a small group of solutions in this space which are architected on a batch architecture. And at best, these platforms can get to near real time. There's usually no streaming analytics, and there's no ability to do event triggers sub-second in order to interact with customers. The reason is that traditional campaign management platforms are architected to sit on top of the data inside a data warehouse, and they'll automatically inherit the latency from the enterprise data warehouse. That's why we changed our architecture several years ago to the Lambda architecture, so that we had the combination of the real-time layer and the batch layer. So think about this as the batch layer, and if this is already implemented inside an operator, then our approach is to complement that batch layer by putting in the streaming real-time layer with our real-time event decisioning platform, and that's exactly what we did in the operator we just talked about. so that the data is coming direct in streams from the network elements. The real-time event decisioning interacts with the campaign management platform in two ways. Firstly, the campaign management platform can provide, based on historical views, a whitelist of customers who are eligible for specific use cases, so that those use cases can be still configured in the campaign management platform and passed to the real-time event decisioning platform. Then the real-time event decisioning platform does the streaming analytics. It ingests the data in real time. It makes the decisions in real time. It does the complex event processing and fast data analytics using accumulators and other techniques I talked about before to make the decisions. Those three decisions, just to repeat, are firstly, is there a real-time moment of truth? Secondly, what is the most appropriate offer? And thirdly, provisioning that offer via the outbound or inbound channel. So the first way we integrate with these platforms is we get a whitelist of customers who are eligible for individual use cases, and they will then be executed inside the real-time event decisioning. And either we can then, in the second way we integrate, is that we can provision those offers either directly, as we did in the use case above, or via the existing inbound, outbound channels and fulfillment that may be already connected to the campaign management platform. So that makes essentially an add-on to the existing multi-channel campaign management environment. That means that through adding on the real-time event decisioning platform, we can supercharge or turbocharge that environment to become real-time. In that way, we can fly in formation, or of course, Imagine's whole platform, if you have the full solution suite, can do all of the above and more, like the dynamic deals we're doing in a number of markets and next best action, etc. Okay, so that's essentially an overview of the three things I said I'd talk about. One is why CVM is important. We talked about the 3 to 5% incremental revenue that can be generated. We talked about the product architecture for Emagine and why we selected VoltDB and as our real-time layer inside that Lambda architecture. And then finally went through the case study and talked about the business impact of 1.5 to 2.5 times, the technical results, which was in that case 1.5 billion records ingested and all of the decisioning happening in under 450 milliseconds end to end. And finally, how that can supercharge the existing multi-channel campaign management environment to deliver those results. So that's essentially an overview of what we've done with Emagine and where we've partnered with VoltDB to get some great results. So with that, I will hand back to Peter just to wrap up, and then we can take questions and answers.
David, thank you very much. That was terrific. As a representative of VoltDB, you can't have better examples of the business benefit that customers of ours can deliver than Emagine. That was awesome. Just a quick wrap up from my perspective in VoltDB. We're talking a lot about personalization and customer value management. VoltDB supports a wide variety of use cases represented here, which I'm not going to go through. And the kind of summary from our perspective, if you're interested in the kind of capability that Volt can deliver, what can we do for your applications? Hopefully everything we've been able to do for Emagine. Most of what David's talked about is our ability to make things faster, very high transaction rates, very low response latency, low response time. Simplify things. David talked about implementing the Lambda architecture. Oftentimes our customers are able to implement architectures like Lambda in a much simpler way than they'd have with alternatives, because VoltDB integrates a number of the different pieces of Lambda, which is unique to VoltDB. And that integration means you've got an easier platform to test, maintain, and support. And then for applications that really require fast streaming analytics with kind of transactionality, you're guaranteed to have correct results, and that means less programming for application developers, VoltDB takes care of the distributed data infrastructure, so you don't have to worry about it, delivering guaranteed correct results, lower overall system risk with high availability and reliability. So bottom line is faster, simpler, and better with VoltDB. We have a couple of resources if you're interested in reading up on the requirements around fast data versus big data. David described them in the Emagine application and did a great job of that, and then talked about the significant advantage of embracing that. So we've got an ebook that we wrote, which is kind of the book on fast data from an architectural perspective. And then there's also a Gartner report that talks about operational database systems, which includes VoltDB, which we'd invite you to take a look at and download. And so with that, we're going to take questions. So if you haven't already, we do have a couple of questions in the queue. If you haven't already, I'd encourage you to type a few in. And David, before we get to the questions that have been queued up, I did want to ask, you went through a redesign. You said you fundamentally changed the Emagine architecture. That must give you an ongoing significant competitive advantage against those other lesser alternatives that you mentioned earlier.
Well, we think so, and we're getting a lot of traction in the market. This whole space of big data and fast data, like all new technologies, there's lots of talk about it, and it's very difficult to find people who've actually done it. I think now we've proven with our clients that we have done it, have delivered the business results, and all of our clients are adopting the real-time platform and migrating across onto the new architecture. So we're getting a lot of demand in the market for this, and outside of telecoms, we're moving into some other industry verticals as well, including utilities in particular, which are very interesting and exciting in the energy space, which from a sort of market point of view looks like telecoms about 15 years ago. So there's some interesting stuff happening there as well.
Yep. Well, you mentioned utilities. Are those applications similar in terms of live customer interaction?
The utilities market, if you look at what's going on there, there's some technology disruption coming through battery technology, solar and renewables, and then there's some technology innovation around smart meters. So we're going to end up in a situation where utilities and electricity in particular is traded and traded by the consumer in a way that's optimized for their use to not only limit the sort of carbon footprint, but also optimize their spend. And so there'll be lots of applications for which we're working on with some of our initial clients in that space around using smart meters, for example, to tell customers that today their average usage is higher than it should be, and perhaps they should turn their pool pump off, through to interacting with them on billing and payments. And all of those electricity companies who've come out of monopolies often are realizing they need customer engagement in order to actually keep that customer and become a energy provider rather than just an electricity provider. So they want to be the guys over time who are owning the relationship with the customer and bringing all of those solutions to customers which are going to make them more efficient. And that's all about interacting with customers, understanding them, and providing them with relevant offers at the right time.
That's very exciting. The mobile operator example you talked through is exciting. Of course, we're real-time enthusiasts, as you know, but it's great to see it happening in industries like the electric utility industry. So to move on to some of the questions that have been queued up, one of them is, what does the setup process entail for customers that are interested in Emagine? Can they move to real time without replacing their existing platforms?
I think if I just flick back to here, this slide here is really addressing that, because I think I said at some point in the webinar, everybody has something in the space, and it seems nobody has everything. So people have made investments in some sort of batch-based solution. Often there's a 24 or 48-hour data delay just inherently in the way the data is fed into those platforms and the way they're architected. And nobody wants to throw that away. They've made a significant investment usually. So what we do is we treat that as the batch layer within the architecture, and we add the real-time layer. So in this example, if you're an operator who's already got a campaign management platform, then within 8 to 12 weeks, you can be up and running with the real-time layer by identifying the real-time use cases, identifying the source data streams, doing the integration, and then executing. So it's relatively straightforward to add a real-time layer. And just repeat myself a little bit, but the two key points of integration to your existing campaign management platform would be, firstly, the customer selection. There'll be a certain set of customers, for example, who you will want to make the offer to in regards to the data bundle depletion use case. It won't be the entire base because some customers won't be on the appropriate rate plan, some customers won't have a data-enabled handset. So there'll be a whitelist that comes from the campaign management platform that says, here's the customers you should look out for. And they're the customers that we will monitor in real time so that they're targeted. And then when we make the decisions that this is a customer, this is the offer, this is what needs to be provisioned to that customer in terms of an offer, we can either send that directly or via the existing channels, in other words, out through the campaign management platform. But at the very least, the fact that we made that contact will be fed back to the campaign management platform. So you do have a single source of truth, and you maintain your policy rules about customer contact, and you keep that sort of single central source of customer interaction truth.
Okay. Terrific.
That was a long
you
answer
might have
to a short
touched on. Yeah, you might have already touched on part of the answer to this question, because I think it's all about how to get going from where people are. If you had to prioritize delivering better predictions for offers, for example, using big data and machine learning, or using information from the batch layer perhaps, versus just speeding up existing offers with real-time interaction, which would you do first?
Yeah, well, we've done both with operators. So the first, it's a good question. The first one is if we've used machine learning based on historical data and deep big data analytics with our data science team to build machine learning algorithms to identify what is the most appropriate offer. We've done that work with operators, and we've also been into operators where they've got something running and they just want to speed it up. What we found is that actually the value of moving your existing offers to real time, at least in our experience, is greater than the value of tweaking or improving the predictive model around getting the best offer. And the reason is quite simple. It's because you can have the best offer in the world, but if you don't get to the customer with that offer in the moment when it's relevant, then of course the conversion rates are going to be lower. So again, if we pop back to that data bundle example, you can have the most amazing data bundle offer for the customer, but if you contact them 15 minutes too late and they've run out of data, they're either already annoyed or they've gone and bought a data bundle themselves, then the moment's passed. So the benefit you've got from having a great machine learning algorithm present the right offer is lost because you've lost the timing. So if you have to prioritize one or the other, our recommendation is you prioritize getting to real time first and getting an offer to the customer in the moment, which is good. And then the second thing you do is continue to improve the quality of the prediction around what offer.
Right. And I think you mentioned this during your presentation, but there is a question for the customer in the case study. Some of the numbers around that again, how many customers did they have, and what were the kind of transaction or record per day that were being processed? the Emagine real-time platform?
Yeah, so that was just over 20 million prepaid customers. We're ingesting 1.5 billion call records every day. Some of the devil in the detail there was that customers had multiple data bundles, so we had to identify customers with 2 or 3 data bundles and combine those, and only make an offer when the customer was running out of data across all 3 bundles, not just individual bundles. And we had to predict, as I said, with some data latency, we had to predict when, based on their usage, the customer would run out of bundle. So even with some latency on the data there, we were able to predict that 85% of the time. And that end-to-end process from ingestion through to offer was 447 milliseconds.
Excellent, thanks. Another question, maybe the last question as we come up on the hour here. This organization has an existing campaign management platform. As you said, everybody has something. It's running off data that's 24 to 48 hour latency. How do you replace that platform and move to real time without replacing the existing campaign management platform?
Yeah, I think, again, we're back to this flying in formation slide, which we're showing here, where that, you know, the latency is there because the data is coming from a data warehouse, which is probably being fed 24 or 48 hours late. It's probably very rich data. You don't want to throw that away. You want to sweat that asset. So it would be a case of doing this implementation in parallel so that you get the real-time stream, as I explained before, so that you'd put in the real-time event decisioning module and take the real-time data and then make sure that there was some light integration into the campaign management platform for receiving whitelists and also for providing back the contact history and contact policy back to that campaign platform. So,
Great.
Of course, we're very happy to come in and replace the platform, and we can do the full replace, but most operators are looking to, you know, if it's not broken, they're not looking to fix it. So they're more looking for this architecture where, in addition to an existing platform, they'll be adding a real-time layer, which allows them to take that leap quickly and generate that sort of 1.5 to 2.5 times impact. And I think I mentioned before, it's probably an 8 to 12 week project, typically, to come in and run that sort of integration. Anyone on the webinar who's interested, obviously can reach out via our website or, and contact us that way, or follow up with the organisers here.
Great. All right. Well, thanks. That takes care of the questions. David, thanks so much. That's a very compelling example of the benefit of real time and what Emagine International can do. And with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our hosts, and they can take it away.
Hello again. Thank you, David, and thank you, Peter, for a very informative presentation. And also a massive thank you to everyone who has attended today. As I mentioned earlier, this webinar is being recorded, so the recording will be available to you all within 3 working days. So look out for an email for the address that you registered on. Also, we'll make sure that we do include some contact information for both David and Peter, so if you do have any final questions that you want to ask, you can reach out to them directly. Thank you very much, everyone.